talk about the Steelers. Right now, the Steelers just lost to the Baltimore Ravens. They've lost their last 2 games. They're on the hot streak there. They went out there, they defeated the Cincinnati Bengals, they defeated the Cleveland Browns. And when I look at this situation with the Steelers, the sky's not falling just yet. They're dealing with a lot of injuries. But first, I do want to talk about Russell Wilson. You can't turn the football over in the red zone. And you can't throw a pick 6 like how you did against the Ravens. He had a great run against the Ravens, fumbles the football in the red zone. And you guys know how I feel about red zone turnovers. I hate them. No matter how they come out, I hate them. He fumbled the football. You slide in that situation. This is not a player that's in year 1 or year 2. He understands this. This is his 3rd team in his career. He's a Super Bowl champion. He went to 2 Super Bowls. He knows this. You slide down and you give your offense a fighting chance. You either walk away with 3 points because you have Mr. Automatic and Chris Boswell, or you walk out with a touchdown, which is even better. You can't turn the football over. Micah Fitzpatrick goes out there. He gets the interception. Momentum is right back with the Steelers. Russell Wilson, play action bootleg. Not the best play call. Not a horrible one. Goes out there. He forces the football. It goes for a pick 6. You cannot have those type of turnovers. They deserve to lose this game. And majority of it was on Russell Wilson. I know the rushing defense was not good in today's game against the Ravens, but in today's game, Russell Wilson cost them points. That red zone fumble and that pick 6, that's going to put you behind the 8 ball, and you're already down your number 1 wide receiver. You're already down your starting safety and one of your starting defensive linemen and Larry Ogunjobi. You can't go out there and turn the football over. He's trying to overcompensate when there is no reason to go out there and overcompensate. This was a close football game. The defense kept them in the game at times. You had some major plays by Calvin Austin III going deep down the field. You had a great play in the middle of the field by Mike Williams to keep the chains going. You can't go out there and play hero ball. That's the number 1 thing with Russell Wilson that has plagued him in his career, even with the Seattle Seahawks and most definitely with the Denver Broncos. Not calling him a bad quarterback, but little plays like that, they add up and they hurt you on the back end. And that's what happened in today's matchup against the Ravens. I'll talk about the defense in the next couple of minutes. But when I look at this offense over the last 2 games, it hasn't been pretty. They need George Pickens in the worst way possible. He's easily the best wide receiver. He can do everything for you. He's that big explosive threat. And yes, you're still getting explosive plays with Calvin Austin III. He had an explosive play against the Cleveland Browns. He had an amazing play against the Baltimore Ravens that went for major yardage and led them to getting a touchdown that led to Cordell Patterson. So I'm not worried about Calvin Austin III as being a deep threat. But when he's your true number 1 wide receiver, you're hurting there. They need George Pickens in the worst way possible. He's missed the last 3 games, dealing with a hamstring injury. There's a lot of reports that don't want to rush him back on the field because the playoffs are right around the corner. I understand that. But they need him right now. You need some more offensive weapons on the outside. I thought that Roman Wilson was going to at least be able to play a couple of snaps this year. It seems like he's not going to play at all. This is a guy that they drafted in the 2nd round from Michigan. Had a very good training camp until he got injured. And he was just dealing with a regular injury. For him to miss his entire rookie season, I'm concerned about Roman Wilson moving forward. And that should be a guy that should be on the field right now, giving you some snaps, giving you yardage, at least. I'm not saying that he's going to go out there and be the next Antonio Brown, be the next George Pickens, but anything can help with the wide receiving core right now. Mike Williams is doing the best that he can. He's not going to be the same wide receiver that he was a couple of years ago. He's come off a torn ACL injury, and he suffered a back injury in his career with the Chargers. So I'm not expecting for Mike Williams to go out there and give you over 100 yards in the game and 2 receiving touchdowns. That's unrealistic. But this wide receiving core, they have taken a major hit since they traded Deontay Johnson to the Carolina Panthers in exchange for Dante Jackson. And speaking of the secondary, and I want to just talk about the whole defense here in this Ravens game, they couldn't stop the run today. That's the first thing that hurt them. And when you can't stop the run game against the Baltimore Ravens, you're going to be in trouble because Lamar Jackson can go back there. He can play backyard football. Derrick Henry averaged 7 yards a carry. He had 162 rushing yards on the day. Justice Hill got knocked out of the game with a concussion. He was able to walk on his own power. I'm happy that he's okay. We'll monitor that situation as they go forward into the NFL playoffs. But you couldn't stop Derrick Henry in today's game. He only had 13 carries in the first encounter. This is a Steelers defense that has been known to be a top rushing defense in the NFL over the last few years. They got punched in the mouth today. And they worked off a play action with Lamar Jackson. He had 3 passing touchdowns to the 1 interception to Mika Fitzpatrick. Really, his 1 interception doesn't matter because on the back end, on the next drive, Russell Wilson threw that pick 6. The secondary took a major hit. No Dante Jackson in this matchup. He got injured last game. He wasn't able to play. Joey Porter Jr., holding machine at times. Very good football player. You guys got to see why he's needed with this defense. He went out. Benny Bishop had to cover Zay Flowers, and they got a major play off of it. Their secondary is wounded also. And you don't have Deshaun Elliott, your starting safety, even though DeMonte Casey did play very well today. He was able to fly around and make those important tackles. But when you look at Deshaun Elliott, he's so good in coverage. He's so good at tackling. The Steelers are dealing with a lot of injuries, but this game was close. It came down to not being disciplined on the offensive end and not being disciplined in between the tackles. That's what it came down to, especially on the defensive side. The gap responsibilities were not there. Lamar Jackson only got sacked once. TJ Watt did not look right in today's game. He's dealing with that ankle injury, and that ankle was taped up. He wasn't able to bend off the edge as much, and he did not have the same power coming out of his breaks. So when I look at this situation with the Steelers right now, you were outmanned, you were outgunned. The game was still close. I'm worried about them heading into the NFL playoffs. I don't want to see a situation to where this team is still trying to go out there and fight to have home field advantage, and you limp into the NFL playoffs and you're one and done. Home field advantage doesn't mean anything if your team is all beat up and hurt. And I'm talking about major stars here with TJ Watt not being healthy. Larry Ogunjobi, a top run defender with them. Cameron Hayward, very good defensive tackle all season long, but he's getting double teamed. He's getting isolated. You have Highsmith, you have Herbig, you have guys that can still get to the quarterback. But if TJ Watt can't stay healthy and he's not 100% right now, you might as well pull him. I said this a couple weeks ago. I'm going to say it again. If the Ravens go out there and they win out the season, and the Steelers, they go out there, and even if they win out, the Ravens still win this division. They just clinched the playoff berth. So I look at this situation right now with the Steelers. It's best off to just probably go out there, and you may want to sit some guys down. I'm not saying surrender the season and give up. You can't have any more injuries go out there and hurt you moving forward. Because right now, these injuries, they're starting to pile up with George Pickens, with the defensive injuries. And when I look at this offense, even with George Pickens, they're not the most explosive offense in the NFL. And speaking of explosive plays, Najee Harris in the last couple of games has not looked good. 9 carries today, 42 rushing yards. He averaged 5 yards a carry, but he's too slow to come out of the backfield. He's not the generational talent that you were looking for at that running back position because he doesn't have the speed. Not to say that he's a bad player, but he had a major fumble against the Philadelphia Eagles. The NFL went out there, they ruled it on Russell Wilson. It was a toss play. Najee Harris cannot catch the football at the backfield. He basically essentially cost them points in that matchup. And the Eagles go out there, they bleed clock and they drain clock. Jaylen Warren right now is a better running back than Najee Harris. You can get more explosive plays out of him. He had 12 carries, 48 rushing yards in today's encounter. He also had 44 receiving yards. So Jaylen Warren is more so the do-it-all back. Catch the football at the backfield, run in between the tackles. Calvin Austin third, 65 receiving yards. Van Jefferson had 27 receiving yards. But their offense, it is what it is. They knew that wide receiver was going to be a problem coming into this season when you trade Deontay Johnson. And maybe there's a chance that you could bring him back. He just got cut by the Baltimore Ravens. We'll see if the Steelers want to go out there and possibly bring him back, but they let him go because of his attitude. He didn't want to jump on a fumble against the Bengals. He fanned the football off. He walked away. That was part of the reason why he let him go. And when you look at Deontay Johnson, solid wide receiver, but he does have a lot of problems catching the football at times, and he's not a 50-50 ball wide receiver. Deontay Johnson would definitely help this team, but I don't even know if the Steelers would be able to go out there and claim him off the waiver. Because you have the Houston Texans, they could possibly do it. The Los Angeles Chargers, they need a wide receiver. That's the best ideal fit right now, is to go out there and try to bring back Deontay Johnson if they can. But when I look at the Steelers, man, you're not that far off. When you're fully healthy, you'll be able to go out there and you can compete because the defense, when you're fully healthy, they're still one of the better units in the NFL. Bad games are going to happen. They did a very good job of stopping Saquon Barkley. They went out there and they made sure that he did not go out there and have a 40, 50-yard run. Their secondary was hampered with injuries in that matchup, and Jalen Hurts went out there and he was slicing and dicing them the entire game. When you're depending on guys like Corey in your secondary, you're depending on Benny Bishop. Those are not true number one and true number two cornerbacks in this league. They're going to hurt you. You can't go out there and you can't guard a team with a guy like Zay Flowers or Jamar Chase or even a T. Higgins when your secondary is beat up and they're banged up. Patrick Queen, solid tackler, has had a solid season this season. In coverage, I don't want to see him in one-on-one coverage ever again. Mark Andrews is just getting past him over and over again. I'm seeing A.J. Brown run through the middle of the defense. That's not his forte. That is not what Patrick Queen is known for. When I look at Russell Wilson in that game against the Eagles, he was doing the best that he could, but he's taking too many dumb sacks. Once again, something that he's been known to do in his career with the Denver Broncos and also with the Seattle Seahawks. You just don't want to see those plays happen with a quarterback at this stage of his career. And we could talk about the whole Justin Fields situation. Justin Fields wasn't able to play today. I hate the way that Arthur Smith and Mike Tomlin use Justin Fields. You bring him in as a gadget player. I hate it. That's why he's dealing with an injury right now. Justin Fields is a quarterback. Regardless of how you feel about Justin Fields, he may not be an elite passer, but he is still a quarterback in the NFL. He's not a wide receiver. He's not a running back. A lot of people say that as a joke. He's not. He's an athletic quarterback. Bring him in to throw the football. Bring him in to move the pocket from left to right. Let him throw the football so your offense isn't that predictable. Everyone knows when they bring in Justin Fields, they're going to run the football. We saw it against the Cleveland Browns. We saw it against the Philadelphia Eagles. We saw it against the Cincinnati Bengals. When you bring in Justin Fields, they're going to run the football. Let him throw the football 2 or 3 times in a game. And then when you also bring in Justin Fields, you have to factor this into account. If you ever played football before, the wide receivers, they built a chemistry with Russell Wilson so deep into a game. So when you catch the football from Justin Fields, it's a little bit different from when you catch it from Russell Wilson. That deep ball is not the same. That deep accuracy is not the same. The ball placement is a little bit different because he doesn't have the chemistry with the wide receivers that Russell Wilson has. That's why it's always a problem when you bring in another quarterback. The throws are a little bit different. One quarterback may throw it like it's a handoff. Another quarterback may come in and throw it like it's a bullet. Not every quarterback is created equal with that throw power and with that ball placement. And that's why it's been a problem so far, alternating Russell Wilson out for Justin Fields for even just a couple of snaps. We saw that against the Browns. So I don't want to hear that as an excuse in today's game against the Ravens. Russell Wilson essentially lost them the game. He had a bad game. He had good moments. Just because you have good moments doesn't mean that you had a good football game. But hopefully when they get George Pickens back, the offense will look better. I'm just more so worried about this rushing defense because we saw what Jalen Hurts was able to do last week. He was able to run around and get good plays going. And that's one problem that I've noticed with the Steelers this season. Rushing quarterbacks and guys that can scramble around, they break down the secondary with this defense more so than with other defenses in this league. Part of it can be because the secondary is banged up right now, but Lamar Jackson was breaking contain, going outside the pocket, throwing across his body, buying more time. And we all know about this in the NFL. Your secondary can hold forever. Where you're going against a scrambling quarterback, whether it's Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, or even a Lamar Jackson. Eventually, they're going to find breakdowns in the secondary. It just comes down to can you make the throw? But the Steelers are a very interesting team. They're not built like other defenses. They have 2 elite pass rushers in Alex Highsmith and in TJ Watt when he's fully healthy. And they can come off the edge and they can try to go out there and neutralize those deep passes. But in order for the Steelers to make a deep playoff run, they're going to need George Pickens to stay healthy. Arthur Smith has to be a better offensive play caller, and they need to get more out of this run game. This offensive line has also taken a major step back, but the offensive line, it is what it is. James Daniels right now, he's missed majority of this entire season dealing with a torn Achilles injury they suffered against the Indianapolis Colts, and he was a top guard with the Steelers. Broderick Jones right now, I hate that he's a starting tackle. You guys know how I feel about Broderick Jones. He's a penalty machine, and he gives up a lot of pressure off his side. Right now, he does look like a bust, but this is just his second year. But you have him, you have Dan Moore Jr. It was really supposed to be Dan Moore Jr. and Troy Fautanu. Troy Fautanu, in just a couple of snaps he played, looked very good. And I do think that there's going to be a bright future for Troy Fautanu on this team moving forward. But when I look at the Steelers right now, the sky's not falling. It does suck to lose to your division rival 34-17. But 7 of those points came off a pick six. That hurts you in that situation. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you guys feel about the Steelers moving forward, and will they be a one-and-done team in the NFL playoffs? And another reason why I'm saying, hey, go out there and sit down the starters, they've clinched a playoff berth. You're going to go out there and make the NFL playoffs regardless. You may not want to be on the road, but guess what? You're in the dance. It doesn't matter. As long as you make the NFL playoffs, you're going to have to go out there and figure things out. It would be amazing to see the Steelers host a playoff game. But the biggest demon right now that Mike Tomlin has to exercise and work out, he hasn't won a playoff game since 2016. This entire franchise has not. And that's the one thing a lot of Tomlin haters say. Well, he hasn't won a playoff game since 2016. Can he win a playoff game with this current roster? I believe that he can. But the thing is with the Steelers, the AFC is so tough. You have the Chiefs, you have the Bills, the Ravens. I believe the Steelers still match up very well with the Baltimore Ravens. You have the Denver Broncos. So with some teams in there that the Steelers match up very well with, but at the same time, you're not fully healthy. And if Russell Wilson's going out there and he's having the moments that he had against the Ravens, you're not going to be able to win too many of those games in the NFL playoffs. But if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless. Peace.